So I would like to introduce to you IIT Bombay librarian Dr. Jotwani, who has kindly agreed to come here and address you regarding the digital resources at IIT Bombay, and Mr. Manju Nayaka. He will be talking to you about knowledge resources and services, particularly in chemical engineering at IIT Bombay. So this is going to be a lecture and also introduction, which actually needs the online connection. We seem to be having some problem right now with the online connection, but that will not stop them from presenting the essence of what they want to communicate. So let me begin with thanks to Dr. Jotwani to agreeing to give this lecture. And
thank you, Professor Patwardhan. Hi, good afternoon. I will not take much of time. I'll ask my colleague, Mr. Manju, to start the presentation. As Professor Patwardhan said, that we are trying to cover, information resources or the services that Central Library offers to our users. What are all things we have, how these things operate, function, etc. And also how you from your college can take some help from us. Can you access our resources? Can you ask for copies of articles, etc. So we have tried to cover all those things, which I think you will find interesting. And if there's any query, you can always ask. We'll be clarifying to you, right? So Manju? That's okay.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all of you. Okay, I'm going to talk on the knowledge, resources, and services in chemical engineering. The outline of my topic is today. The first I will tell you about what is the importance of knowledge, why knowledge is required today, and also Central Library, general resources and services, and scholarly communication, role of library, and also what are the resources particularly available in chemical engineering, science and technology and management, other things also. But I will focus more on chemical engineering resources. Knowledge is a valuable input to everybody today. Particularly the graduates, the students, or the teacher or researcher is the most important. Because of this significant and importance of knowledge today, we are focusing more on its importance. The availability of knowledge and facility and access is the most important to create a knowledge. The institute or country which has the knowledge, decidedly the more advantage than other institutes or countries. Today, knowledge is considered as a wealth. It is a economic value and technologically the powerful. That is why much of the knowledge is created in advanced countries. Knowledge is costly to create. So, knowledge has the tremendous value to enrich the country and economic progress of the society. That's why we need to understand the importance of the knowledge, how it will enhance the institute output, the productivity, and also employability, the skills of the engineer and researcher. I listed the three major sources where exactly the knowledge is created. Maybe the lab, the lecture, or informally or formally you discuss with the colleague and researcher where you will get the knowledge. The third one is the library. The first, these two things you know the better. So I will concentrate more on how library will work as the knowledge lab. So the way you are creating a new knowledge in lab, like that you can create the new knowledge in the library also by using the available resource, by interpreting your own idea and thinking with available resources. Either if you want to create the new knowledge, you want to publish an idea, the library resource are very essential. Whoever may be, either teacher or researcher or the student, the knowledge base is the library. It supports the objective to fulfill your objective. Today, everybody is talking about the Google. Some of the even faculty also will tell that, okay, we are not going for library, we will getting everything from the Google. I will tell you, there are still, if you are looking for information, the Google is the perfect solution. If you are looking for a knowledge, particularly technical knowledge, the Google is not the best solution. So, even though if you are in the campus or if you are getting the IP based access, probably you need not to come to library website, you can access directly from Google. The Google, it facilitates the publishers, okay, to enhance, to reach more, okay, by indexing the abstracting level or bibliographical level. Okay, if you want a full text, then you should have a subscription. Then, as I said, knowledge is costly to create. Then nobody will give you the knowledge so freely. Whatever you are getting from knowledge or information from Google, the Google is not a owner of that the content. Google is only the facilitator, only the algorithm it works. The almost all the owner of the content is either research institute, the universities, and the government organization. As I said, the Google also try to organize the worlds of knowledge, but not paid content. It will just only the marketing, the resource of the publishers. If you need more authenticated information, you need to visit the library resources, either maybe the database or aggregator or full text resources. In the Google content, the data is not organized, whereas in come to the library resources, data is organized, more authenticated, and from reliable sources, and it is evaluated sources. You will get it from library. This is the way how the scholarly the communication it works. Scholarly communication is the system which facilitates the creation of the knowledge and for evaluation and dissemination and preserve for future generation. The user, the first will use the library as a source. After that, he will become an author. Then once he publishes the paper or books through the publishers, then the library, it will work as a mediator between a users and publisher. It will work as a link between the past generation and future generation. So, in the knowledge era or ICT era, you may think that, okay, we are getting most of the things without a library. Just think that if you remove the library from this communication channel, okay, whether it will be again centralized or it will be decentralized, there will be more problem because thousands of users, so many departments. If it is a centralized access facility, it will save the time of the users and also the finance. You will get it, the centralized subscription, the centralized the usage things, and also fast delivery of resources from the library. Still there are many people involved with the scholarly communication, but these are the four, the major, the player, okay, in the era of the knowledge, the scholarly, the communication. About the central library. Though in the central library, what specifically we concentrate on, what is the resource required for our users or teachers, or researcher, the students. Your collections is based on the science and technology, the management, the humanities, and other related resources which are needed by our user. So we have a specialized collection. There are two things. Okay, you can access our resources by physically visiting our library. This is our library look like after the renovation. Right now renovation is going on. Either you can directly go to our library, the web page library.iitb.ac.in. Though generally people will say that without doing the proper research, the more and more electronic resources are publishing, the number of people visiting the library is decreasing. But whereas in our case in IIT Bombay Central Library, though we have 80% of our journals we have electronic resource, which means print is decreasing, but whereas number of user coming to library has been increasing. In order to meet this demand, okay, renovation work we took, and also we are increasing the user area. I will tell you about some statistics about our library, the collection. We have around 5 lakh the print, the books, thesis and dissertation, reports, and those print CDs, DVDs, and those things. And we have around 20,000 the core journals. And if you take thesis and dissertation, reports, and other things, we have 3 to 4 million e-content. Around 1,000 only CD content we have. And in addition to facilitate this full text, we have bibliographical database like Web of Science, the Scopus, and Reaxi, SciFinder, and some CMI database, and the Capital Line. And these are all the tools in order to help you and to get the more usage and get maximum benefit from subscribed resources. Okay, these are the secondary resources, these databases we have. And also we have patent, the ESTM and IEEE, and also Indian patents and reports, those things. We have around 10,000 electronic theses and dissertation, which is born digitally from 2000 onwards. Particularly around 2,000 theses and dissertation we have in chemical engineering. And we have around almost all print, around 40,000 print theses and dissertation. In addition, we are also subscribing the ProQuest in the science and technology, the electronic thesis and dissertation. We have around 7,000 theses in electronic format. This is subscribed content. Whatever, okay, the research output of the universities or the institute throughout the world are published in majority in the commercial publishers. The commercial publishers are what? They are for profit. They don't give free access to their content. So many researchers around the world, they thought that, okay, if everything getting back to those resources is subscribing, no library in the world in a position to subscribe every subscribed content. So many researchers around the world, some like-minded, they thought that there should be some solution for this one. Due to economic barrier, scientific output should not be a barrier for the researcher. So whatever the research output of the government-funded research output should be freely available to the scholars without any economic barrier. So many publishers, okay, they oblige that. They will allow some sort of the content to archive from the institute or author itself. So IIT Bombay has been also publishing more than 1,000 articles in around 2,000 or 3,000 the publications. So what is the main motto of the author? His research output should reach maximum people. So if it is locked in the publisher subscription and due to economic condition of the library, many people don't get access around the world. So as an institute is promoting the open access and open source, so we have an institutional repository. Around 14,000 publication of the institute is available, the bibliographic and abstract level freely. Around 3,000 articles, full text are available freely. You can access even if you are coming from anywhere in India without any subscription, without going for publisher website, you can access this content. Our institutional repository has been accessed by around 154 countries around the world. Every month we are getting around 10,000 hits to our institutional repository. As I said, we are subscribing the resources around the 15,000 core journals, the mainly from different publishers, which means around directly we are subscribing from more than 200 publishers. And also some we have subscribing through aggregators. The aggregator again, they have collecting the content from so many publishers. So if it is a 2,000 publisher means 2,000 interfaces. If it is a 200 website means 200 interfaces. 15,000 title means 15,000 interfaces. If you are looking for a chemical engineering, the content or a recent advance in chemical engineering literature, where you want to search? How do you search one by one which is related to chemical engineering? Even though if you have listed around only the chemical engineering, you will get it around 40 to 50 resources, publisher resources. The title you may get around thousands. What this is the discovery tool Nimbus does, it simultaneously searches all 200 interfaces around all 15,000 journal title through single search. This is the algorithm. It will give you the result in single interface. This is the single search box, the single shop. Okay, through that you can discover our resources. The last one, as I said earlier, okay, the institute has been publishing around 1,000, more than 1,000 articles in reports or journals and books. And also institute has been creating a thesis and dissertation. You know that today the plagiarism is the very critical issues. Either intentionally or unintentionally, if you take some source from somewhere, if you forget to cite that resources, it becomes a very embarrassing situation for the institute as well as to you. So, in order to, there are the manual techniques also available, okay, to minimize this plagiarism. But there is a limitation. Some journals, okay, they have acceptance level of that article is around 1%. If you submit around 100 article, okay, only one article has a chances to get published, which means around 99 articles, okay, they don't publish it because they have their own the criteria, selection criteria, the quality and other things. So, in order to increase that from the institute level, because they may think that, okay, this resource is already published or something you taken from many sources, you have not cited. They have some peer review system, they will send it to the many reviewers. They have also some limitations. They don't go thoroughly to read it. Only certain abstract or some things they level, they may reject it. So, this is in order to avoid these things, in order to increase the acceptance level of the article from the institute, as well as in order to minimize the plagiarism, okay, we are subscribing the Turnitin, the database. The Turnitin, what it does, before submitting any article or any book publishing, you need to check the entire things, whatever you have taken source from anywhere, whether you cited properly or not. So it will match the entire the text with available resources. It may be open access resource or publisher resource, and as well as that Turnitin repository. Around the world, the million of students are uploading their paper. That it becoming one database. So In order to avoid the duplicate also, it will check those resources also. So before submitting, if you check your report, okay, your confidence level, it will increase. So you can minimize those, okay, that any unintentional the plagiarism by using the Turnitin in the database that we are subscribing to our users. These are the electronic resources. Almost all the world well-known publishers from the society, we are subscribing the resources. Our institute, around 80% of the publication, it's published in elsewhere journals, the Wiley, Taylor and Francis, and Springer. These are the four major players in science and technology field. So we have subscription to entire science and technology, the package from these four publishers. And also, in addition, the Nature, we have around 32 the major high impact factor journals from Nature we have access. ASME and also some university, Oxford, the Cambridge, the EBSCO, the ASTM, the American Chemical Society, Royal Society of Chemistry, the IEEE, we are subscribing. All the content related to the science and technology and some certain extent humanities and social science also. Which means we have the major the publishers in science and technology we have access. And also in sometimes we are subscribing only the current journals. We need archive also. The JSTOR, the majority deals with some humanities and social, some certain extent technology also. We have subscription to archive the content also. And also, as I said, some standards, some India Stat, some financial databases, even chemical engineers are also using these resources. Some societies, American Society of Civil Engineering and Mechanical Engineering, and EditLib, this is related to education technology. And also material science. This is the Mane publishing, we have more resource on material science collection. Hope you are all chemical engineering students. You are expecting resources, only the majority in chemical engineering. So library we have around 5 lakh collections. How do you find out where we will get the chemical engineering, the content, the books? In library, wherever you go, okay, for further education or work, the books are organized in the subject wise in library. We have codified subject into numerical number. So entire world knowledge, okay, organized into 10 division, like 600 or some classification system they will use only 2 digit, 66 or 600. Most of the technology books you will get it in 600 in call number, which means that division you will get it. Out of 10 division, if you go to middle of that any library, 600 class subject number, you will get it all technology books. So I'm trying to tell you that if you are looking for chemical engineering books in our library, you should know that where it comes. 66 is the classification number which deals with chemical engineering books. So I find out how many books we have in chemical engineering by putting this classification number 66. We have around 10,000 collection in chemical engineering. You know that sometimes chemical engineering is the vast field, okay, which is supposed to spread or link to other physical and life science also, like physics, the chemistry, biology, microbiology, and those things. Sometimes you will, if there is it deals with the 2-3 subject, you may get it in some other fields also. So you should remember that number of the books to identify that the location of the books without asking anybody in the library. Directly, if you remember this left side, the call number of that any book, directly you can go and get it. Or if you go to that rack where it deals with the 66, you will get entire chemical engineer books. You can see that. Whatever is interested to you, you can select. I try to show you that how many thesis and dissertation we have in chemical engineering. This thesis and dissertation from IIT Bombay. We have around 2,345 thesis and dissertation in chemical engineering in our library. This is, as I said, electronic thesis and dissertation. In chemical engineering, we have MTech thesis around 387, 143 in thesis, and 250 dual degree dissertation. The Web of Science is the database of the bibliography and indexing of the journals. It has a science and technology and arts and humanities also. We are subscribing the science and technology. As I said before, okay, we are subscribing from too many publishers and different the databases. So it is scattered. You want to find the entire literature from the single search. So what this Web of Science it does, only quality journals in the science and technology, it will take and it will index the articles. Not only index the articles, the bibliography, it will also take the statistics of the usage of the articles, the usage in terms of the citation. So you will get it, the more quality the content from single search box through by using the Web of Science. So I searched it here, climate change, the impact. I got it around 800 records. You may say that only 800 articles are in climate change impact. Is it makes a sense, or do you expect more articles? Anybody? Can you expect more? This is, yeah, because climate change is the research area of the recent, probably around last 10 years. You can expect that, okay, it could be the correct, the figure somewhat. And also these are the quality the articles. Whereas if you search the climate change impact in the Google, you try, you will get it within 4 or 5 seconds, the million of records. There, your entire life is not sufficient to evaluate that millions of records in climate change impact. So, what I will suggest you, if you are a researcher or the teacher, the better to use that some of these resources. We have some value, the addition, and they have some the criteria to evaluate those resources. So you will get more authentic information, more qualitative, more comprehensive the information from here. If you are subscribing these articles in our library, directly you can open this article from Web of Science itself. Sometimes due to some technical glitch, if it is not working, yeah, you can find out that whether we have access to that the journals. Here, if I compare to the Google, when I search that, it will show you the first page around 10 or 20 records. On what basis it will show you the first 20 records? Have you thought that? In remaining million records coming back, the probably more chances of eating the records in the first page is more. It is hits. And also, in addition to hits, they have also some revenue advertisement the model also it works. The here, okay, there is no hidden agenda, only the quality. So once if you get these 800 articles in this climate change area, you can find out which is the best resource out of 800 by using that, how many times it has cited. From highest citation to lowest citation, you can filter that records. This is the one criteria, okay, if it is some 1 year or 2 year old article. If it is the most recent, you may not get any citation for that article, but still it is more important. How do you find out that article? Any clue? Website of that? Yeah, which means you are using the publisher. Yeah, there, okay, when data is not organized there, you cannot filter, okay, by publishers. Sometimes you may get most recent. This is the one, okay, facility they can give you. But here, you can filter that records by the popular, the institutes which are publishing this resource. If it is highly ranking institute, means the quality of that article might be much more better than, so you can filter it. And also you can filter wise, country wise. You can filter the language wise here. You can filter with the title wise also, source title wise. This, even though you get this type of records or more than records in Google, you don't get it, because if you want to do that, you need to waste your time. For any student or the researcher, the time is the asset. So you should not waste your time. Within a short time, you need to get whatever you want. So these are all the some advantages you have if you use that, okay, library resources. So you can use effectively, more efficiently these resources. Definitely the quality of your product, which may be the degree, which may be the engineering product, it will increase by with minimum effort, minimum time, you get maximum benefit. If you are, I am not telling you don't use the Google. If the Google is this, if you want some general information, that you don't get it. There you will get it. For such type of things, you use Google, but the knowledge use always authenticated the resources like library, subscribed content. When I search this, the climate impact, change impact, so I got this, the first article. I clicked this one. So we have a subscription. This article is come from Science Direct. We have subscription for entire science and technology collection from Science Direct. So I could open immediately. Some of the facilities we have. So you can search our entire the collection by using online public access catalog by sitting anywhere. And also we have Wi-Fi facility for our users. So as I said, even though we have more electronic resources, number of people are coming to library is increasing because the comfortability, the convenience. So you can study even in hostel in department also, but it makes the difference while studying in the library. That could be the comfort space library. It is attracting more number of users, either Wi-Fi facility or some excellent reading facility, the air conditioned room, and people are assist you to locate the resources whatever you want. So those things you may not get it if you use from your residential and other things. Some of our users, okay, many times they will go off campus, either field work or some academic reasons. So they want to access our electronic resources. For them, okay, we facilitate by using virtual private network. Even if from your home, you can access our library resources by using that virtual private network facility. And also we have a reprography facility, some archives. Okay, if you want to take a photocopy, that we have reprography. But still, if there is a more, one interesting thing, so I would like to tell you that, though as I said, we have more 80% of the electronic resources. We asked one question of our students, which one do you prefer, whether electronic or print? Around 68% of the students preferred the print. So if you need some article, if it's a very interesting, if you want to read in depth, probably electronic may not be possible. So we will give those articles in print by printing. Yes, sometimes if you want to scan, the scanning facility is available. Sometimes even though we have 5 lakhs books and about 3-4 million electronic resources, okay, that is not sufficient. Still we have some scarcity. Something you need, it is not available from us, but you need only for short period. So those things we will get it from, if you request us, we will get it from other library, either in India as well as some abroad also sometimes. And sometimes you are looking for an article. As I said, we are not subscribing entire world knowledge. So still we have some little scarcity. If you request the article, if it is very interested to your research area or your education, if it is not available from us, we will get it from other library or sometimes from publisher, some foreign library also. These services we are providing to our users. This also, so many times, okay, whenever you need the book, it should be available. It should not be dependent on some staff and other things. If you come to library during the library hours, you can get issued yourself only. That is a self-issue facility is there. You want to return the book if the staff is not there. So you can drop your return books in a drop box. That facility we are providing. Every year, the education is continuous, the process. Every year new student will come, students will go. So we need to train every users, okay, what are the resources available from central library, how to use. Those things through our information literacy program. Every year in the beginning of the academic year and semester, we will conduct information literacy program. There we will tell, okay, whatever resources are available and how to utilize those things. Suppose if you are a new research scholar to our institute or student, you want to find out how many literature is available in your research area. You don't know search in the beginning. Otherwise, if you want to start yourself, it takes a long time. So if you meet our library staff, they will help you. Okay, whatever the recent articles are available in our library collection in your area, we will find out and we will give the list. It will help you. Many people are happy with this type of service. So it will save a lot of your time. And also we will tell you out of this how much is very quality the content. Sometimes we have also some in library collection we have a reference collection also. So many students will ask, okay, what is the reference collection and the general collection? What is the difference? The way it is, those books are issued for only 2-3 days, and why they are not issued. Sometimes the reference collections are like a encyclopedia, dictionary, manuals, and handbooks. Sometimes if I want to know I have some iPhone, I want to know that somewhere to put the data card. I don't know what I want to do. Can I read the entire literature? Sir, only that part I want to read that. After that I don't use that one. So the reference collections are like that only. Only for short time you are referring. Suppose if you want to know the meaning of that one word, either any foreign language or any English, but you don't get it anywhere. So only you are looking for 2-3 words and you will give return it. That's why we put those short time you are referring those collection in reference collection. It may be encyclopedia, the manual, handbook, such type of things. That collection also we have in library. Suppose if you want to know that many times, okay, you are also interested in the ranking of the universities and other things also. Okay, which institute is publishing more number of article in high impact factor journal? How many article it has published? How many citation it has received? What is I want to find out the best research scholar in chemical engineering. Who is the best a researcher in India or in IIT Bombay. What is his H index? You want to find out those as the scientist. In such cases, we will help you those things through research assistant services. The previously I said the Web of Science. The similar databases we have, the Scopus also, the published from elsewhere. The difference between these two is that the Scopus database, it covers the more journals. Both of them, they have their own criteria to select the journals. The Web of Science, they might have around 20,000 source title. These, they have around 25,000. They will cover more conference proceedings, some regional language, some Indian journals also, the more. And also this recent the database, this one. In Web of Science, you will get it, the citation data from 1960 onwards. If you use the Scopus, okay, you may get only citation data from 2004 onwards. This is the difference between the two, but the function, the bibliographic and indexing, the content is the same. So you can, if you want more literature in depth as well as some low impact factor journal, you can use the Scopus. If you want some high impact factor journals as they covered in the Web of Science, you can use the Web of Science, or you can use the both also to find out the best. The function is same, okay, it will retrieve the data from single database from all the sources, so you will get fast result. So if you are subscribing here also, you can get the full text immediately. So as I said in Web of Science, those facilities are available here also, like filtering, like impact, like citation, the publisher wise, the institute wise, those things. In chemistry field, once again, the SciFinder database is one of the most comprehensive the database. It provides the references and also the reactions. In chemistry and chemical engineering field, it's a very important the database, the heavily used database from our chemistry and chemical engineering department. It's a very costly database, and also we have unlimited access to this database. This is also the REACC database, also similar to SciFinder database, so the most recent one. So if you want to find out the chemical reaction, those things, you can use this database. One of the major the society publication in the chemistry, the American Chemical Society, we have the entire the subscription for all the journal from archive. We have around all 42 titles we are subscribing. The Science Direct, as I said, okay, we also publish the more the articles on this elsewhere database. So we have all science and technology collection, we have a subscription in Science and Direct resource. Particularly in chemical engineering resource, I selected here. You will get it around 235, the chemical engineering journals from this database. Another important resource in chemical engineering is the Wiley resource. We have around here, they have around 40 titles in chemical engineering, almost all 38 titles, we have a subscription. The Springer, once again, the popular publisher in science and technology. We are subscribing all the science and technology around 266 the resources we have in subscription in chemical engineering. Again, same thing, Taylor and Francis. In the chemical, we have around 2,000 the titles in all science and technology, but some around 34 journals completely deal with the chemical engineering. We have access to all 34 titles. Some of the society publication, like though they are not a major, but they will publish some very important research in chemical engineering. So whatever 1 or 2 title they are publishing, okay, we have subscription in the Bulletin of Chemical Society of Japan. Chemical Society of Japan is the publisher of the society. And also another title is the Chemistry of Letter from the same publisher, we have subscription. Another major, the publisher in the chemical engineering is Royal Society of Chemistry. They have around the 42 titles in this field. We have all archive as well as current subscription to the entire RSC subscription. It's also another society from Japan. Okay, we are subscribing Journal of Chemical Engineering of Japan. The JCR full form is Journal Citation Report. As I said at the beginning also, you did your research, okay, your manuscript is ready, you want to publish the article. There are thousands of journals are available, there are several publishers. How do you select where you want to publish the paper? Anybody has published the paper here? Suppose if you are writing, you publish in the paper. Okay, how do you decide? Suppose if your second article is ready, how do you select the publisher? Yeah. Okay. You didn't ask your guide why you suggested me this title. Yes, sir. The majority of the student will do. Okay, my guide has asked me to submit this paper in this journal, so I published it. So being a researcher, you also should have some curiosity. The why is said. So to publish your paper, you need to use always the quality journals. Suppose if you are doing the research in IIT Bombay, you cannot publish your article somewhere in some very low publishers or low visibility in the journals. So always quality is the matter. So what it does, the journal citation report, it will identify the quality of the journals, based on number of citations received to articles published in that journal in the recent year. This is called impact factor of the journal. You want to find out, okay, what are the high impact factor journals in your field in chemical engineering. Then only that is the one of the best criteria to publish your paper, which means if the impact factor of the journals in chemical engineering is the 34, the average number of citation to each article in that journal is around 34. You may ask, okay, what does it matter, that impact factor? Today, whether you apply for some grant, if you are applying for some postdoc or PhD, or suppose if you publish 1 or 2 paper, if you are applying for some awards, research fund, those things, these criteria they will use. What is the H index of that author? If somebody chemical engineer faculty H index is around 20, which means he is the best researcher, which means around 20 articles from him have received at least the 20 times. 20 articles have received at least 20. So if you publish your article in high impact factor journal which has around 34, which means the maximum chances of getting the citation to your article is more. The second thing is that, which means we have that much standard if it is accepted in 30-35 impact factor journal. So what JCR does, it lists all the journals in chemical engineering and how many citation it has received the last year. It will list and it will prepare the report, which means JCR report every year. So I selected chemical engineering here I generated the report of the list of high impact factor journal in chemical engineering. Here I got it, the progress in engineering combustion. This is the impact factor journal is around 15. Probably the 15 is the highest in chemical engineering. So this criteria you need to use it, okay, to publish, okay, your paper. And your faculty also has used this criteria only. That is why you might have suggested. If it is the best journal, always he will prefer to the top journal. If the work is little bit not the, he himself he knows the where it will fit. Sometimes he will suggest you some low impact factor journal, so oh, the chances of getting accepted here is more. Sometimes there may be some is association also. But being a researcher, okay, you should have a curiosity to find out this type of information. This I said in the beginning, we are subscribing for the Turnitin plagiarism software. This is the one article we checked it. You can see that around 32% it is showing. The article which I checked it, which means around 32% of this, the paper is already matching with the published literature, which means it may be around 32% is copying from these sources. You can see that some color here, okay, it will identify the matching text and color code it. So if you click that and color code, it will take you to the origin of the source of the content. Suppose if you are writing your seminar paper, okay, if you just submit it to the faculty, or if you are submitting the article, most of the publishers today, they are using this tool only. Maybe either Authenticate or Turnitin they will use to check the plagiarism of your paper. So you need to, this main intention of this database is not to discourage you because they will caught you. Rather, it will improve your original writing. You need to write your own ideas. So in some other way, it will encourage you, okay, in your confidence level to write more. So many people will think that, okay, no, I don't check my paper here. If you don't check your paper, if you submit to the publisher, he will check it. So they will say that, no, I have privacy. So when you are submitting a paper to the publisher, you will accept his terms and conditions. So you don't entertain your the privacy. So always better to, if the tools are available from your institute, sometimes you may get some free content also. Suppose if you are coming from some small institute, if they don't have a subscription to this type of database, there are some open source tools are also available to check that plagiarism. But what it does, the open source and free software, it checks only the free content. Only whatever you will get it from Google, that it will check. But whereas published literature, it will not check. So always, if it is available from your institute, use this type of things, and it will improve your the writing. And also some the complementary to this product, there are some the grammar check, syntax, mechanics, those things, some linguistic aspects. Okay, tools also available, but right now we are not subscribing that. What is that grammar check? But some other tools are available, so it will help you to increase the quality of your writing by using this type of tools. This is our IIT Bombay Institutional Repository. As I said, in order to increase the visibility to our institute publication, we have put it our institute publication around for around 14,000 articles. So this type of bibliography and abstract, you may get it in Scopus and Web of Science also, But Scopus and Web of Science is not a free database. It's a very costly database. If you are a small institute or somewhere remote, probably everybody don't have a subscription to the Scopus and Web of Science things. You want to know that what is the output of IIT Bombay. So those things you will get it so freely, and sometimes by compliance to the Copyright Act, okay, whoever is permitting to archive the preprint or post-print some type of by compliance to their rules and regulation, we have put it. You will get around 3,000 articles of our institute publication, even some chemical engineering articles also available. You will get it, those things. Being a researcher, sometimes, okay, if you want to publish your article, always think about the open access. If you publish in the open access, what you will get it, okay, your chances of visibility to your article is more, because all over the world, without any subscription, people will access your paper. But yeah, they may get access, but it is not in our hand whether they will cite it or not. But they may acknowledge it some other way. But the main purpose of to the community, to the society, it will be fulfilled. Whereas suppose if you publish in the commercial journal, what it will happen? It will be locked in the publisher's website. Whoever has a money, they will subscribe it. Whoever don't have, they don't subscribe it. They may use it, they may not use it. But whereas if you publish in the open access, which means without any barrier, everybody will get it, whoever wants. As I said, the H index or impact factor is the one of the criteria to use to measure the quality or relevance to the society, the one tool. But today there are many more tools are also available. Like, of course, everybody is using the Facebook, Twitter, social media. Suppose if you put your article, I publish it in open access, and if you share that article in Facebook, it may receive around the million of hits. Probably you may create the network, okay. Probably somebody is following my paper. Yes, he liked my paper. Yeah, you read that paper, he may give you some feedback to you. It will help you to go in depth, or if there are some suggestion, he will give you directly to you. Now, some other techniques are also available in addition to likes, the share, and also, but the same link, how many people they have shared, that also it will, how many hits it has received, those things you will get it. Suppose if you publish in commercial, okay, many times you don't have a right to put your article in your Facebook. If you may use the Facebook for your probably some other purpose, but if you can use some academic purpose also. So this is the our IIT Bombay repository. This much collection has. This is one of the best IIT repository. So we have highest number of records in any IIT. I will come to the reference manager. Suppose if you are doing the full-time research in any institute, you may take around 3, 4, 5 years. Around 5 years, okay, you will use the too many files, either PDF files or HTML files or doc file from different publishers. Sometimes you may use your teacher PPT and everything. How do you organize those things? Is there the tools are available to manage those things? Majority of the people, what they will do, they will save entire PDF things in one folder, either in their laptop or in pen drive or CD. What they will do, they will give some name to that the PDF file. Folder, within the folder, the journal name you will give that, otherwise year you will give that, again within that you will give some subject names or university names. You need to use that articles again and again. it is difficult if your number of articles you used within 3-4 years, if it crosses around 500, even suppose if I want one article, what I referred it the first year, not possible to find out immediately. So this type of the EndNote, the Mendeley, Zotero, these are all the open source file organizer, personal information management software. These are the open source. You can download it and you can use it. The way you create the seminar, the project or research area, you create that one folder, you just download that PDF file, you will get it along with the PDF file, you will get the bibliography also. Suppose if I want to know that which article I referred in the 5 years back, in a single click you will get it here. It helps you to organize the paper. Sometimes, it's a very surprising for me also. Many authors will request us the paper. The paper is written by themselves. They publish the paper, they will ask back, oh, I published this paper, I don't have a copy, please can you get it? Sometimes we also don't have subscription for that journal, what it is published around some faculty 20 years, 15 years back. E-request now. Suppose if you use this type of tools, you can archive your paper, my publication. Every time you are updating with your publication and what you studied, references and bibliography and those things, if you use this EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero, this type of, anybody is using this type of tools? Yeah, you can maintain your entire career in life, whatever you studied. You can, in simple, the best way you can manage those things. Sometimes it may, if we don't know, what I will be after 20 years. Suppose it will help to create a biography also. So how my knowledge, whatever I referred, how it works. So entire history, if you record it, document it, it's very useful. This many times our life is depend on the history, what we studied, what knowledge we acquired. But we acquire it will be in the mind, but we cannot, mind also is not organized, we don't get we cannot recollect everything. But if you use this type of tools, definitely it will help you several ways. Yes, more number of users are using the social medias. Central libraries also using social media. Many times some of the things you don't have time to read some of the newspaper, even though it is very interesting to you. What we do here, some of the interesting, we likely to be interested to our users, like IIT Bombay in media. So majority of the people, they don't scan all the papers, so they don't have time also. So what we do, we will search all the newspapers. If something is published about our institute, we will the copy and we will put it in our social networking, our library blog. So some other interesting research area, those things also we will put it. Here you will get it in the site, not only this type of news in media, we are also given the reference manager, as I said, Zotero, the useful. Sometimes you want to know the citation tools. Everybody will use the different citations tool, like Chicago, ALA, the Nature, everybody will use it. So if you use some of the tools, you can minimize your time of writing the manuscript. Suppose if you are using the doc file for preparing your manuscript, it may take around, if everything content is ready, even for formatting, it will take 1 week, or sometimes it may take more also. If you use some of the LaTeX, some of the citation tools, automatically you can create the article, because ready-made style sheet is available. Just if you download that, the article you downloaded, if you want to give the citation, just 1 click you will get the citation according to the requirement of your, or as well as to the journals publisher requirement. So it will save you your some clerical type of work. And also we have given some open access things. Sometimes you want to search the all other library catalogs, some open access content, and those things we have already given link here. So if you want to know that some of the things which is not covered here, those things by following this blog you can get it. We are also using the Facebook, some of the notification, some of the announcement, libraries tomorrow is going to close, you don't get access tomorrow, these to maintenance, those things, and some useful things we will put it in our notice board as well as Facebook and Twitter account. You can follow that Twitter account immediately, you will get that notification about our library. Here I would like to tell you that I hope many of you are coming from Engineering College of the Maharashtra. So every engineering college or university don't have access like what our users have. So IIT Bombay has been helping not only to our users, we are also helping local industries, local education institute. Since even though we have some obligation with the published literature, we are the licensed content, okay, we are not supposed to share most of the things, but by compliance to the agreement and copyright law, we are helping either private engineering colleges or government engineering colleges. Somebody maybe alumni of NIT. If you want to access our resource, we have these two membership. If you are engineering college, okay, you can get our institutional membership through institute, so you can get our access. All print material you can take photocopy, or you can visit a library, you can refer our books also. Whereas if you need electronic resources, what we are subscribing, those things we will give the printout hard copy by printing, by charging some minimum charges. Sometimes you don't want to come to the library also, you are staying far away from Mumbai, but if you deposit the money, yeah, we will give that by courier or post, relevant article we will send you by that mechanism. If you are alumni, you can take professional membership also by paying around 7,000 rupees annually. This is the way we are helping the other researchers, the institutes, the corporate bodies, the things. Yeah, you can visit our library during library hours at any time. You can follow our social media like Twitter, Facebook, those things. You can call on phone also. You can write anything to, if you need any clarification and any information, librarian@iitb.ac.in, or you can call on our phone number. We will be available to assist you. The second thing, finally, I would like to tell you that we have resources, but we need to utilize more efficient and effectively. Though some of the study they have done in India maybe around 10 lakh, 15 lakh, the graduates are coming from so many colleges, around 25,000 colleges in India. Only 10 to 12% of the people only have employability skills, which means the demand and supply, there is a lot of gap. Just getting a degree by reading the textbook is not sufficient. We need to understand what I want to be. I should be thoroughly updated. If in your education institute, we need to understand what resources are available, what maximum level you need to utilize it. You need to interact with your teacher behind the classroom also to update you, and also what industries require. Chemical engineering field is a vast field. It's physical science, like it applies to every manufacturing, the construction, the health science, the climate. You need to understand that where is the demand of the skilled manpower is requirement in this field. Okay, in that particular area you need to work. If you are really the qualified graduate or qualified research, definitely, okay, you have a chance to contribute to the society as well as industry. The meaningful of the education and research will be fulfilled where the supply meets the demand. I hope I covered whatever resources available in chemical engineering field from our library. I would like to thank the organizer of this workshop, Professor Patwardhan sir, and Chemical Engineering Department, and our librarian, Dr. Jotwani sir, also is here. Still, okay, if something is left, you can interact with our sir. I would like to thank once again for giving me an opportunity to interact with you. Thank you. Thank you. If you have any questions, yeah, you can ask. Okay, in our library website, we have put it a membership forum. If you are engineering college, you need to pay around 30,000 rupees annual subscription. Okay, you will get it, the membership. So we will give the card. So by using that card, you can, anybody who is a student or faculty coming into our library, you can use that resource. This is called institutional membership. If you are private, if it is a government college, so you can access freely. If you already speak to your librarian, yeah, they will tell you. Even if you have a time, come to library, we also will tell you whether we have your institute as a membership or not. Any other question?
Are there any other questions? I think it was a very nice presentation, very comprehensive. Even I didn't know a few things. I also made notes. Very nice. Really bad. Okay, so if there are no more questions, let us thank. Yeah.
You can't access, but you can make a request to us for copies of those articles. And that we can either, if you print one, the photocopy, or from online, we can download and send you the printouts. Outsiders, other than IITs, we don't do the soft copies of the articles. And very rare or rare cases, actually rare or rare cases, generally we get printouts. So if you want some articles, suppose you search any database online, which is free anyway, or from outside also. But you want some articles to and you don't have that. You will send an email to us, giving the details of the articles, and we try to send the photocopies or the printouts or whatever. Of course, we charge you a little bit, but then we can help you out with it.
One is the institution, which college? NIT is Government of Maharashtra, so I think there is no problem. You can get access to.
See, the colleges, the access, what actually means the access is that they can visit the library and refer to the print resources. Online access we don't give to other than IITs. But if you need an article from their online resources, you can always download, print and leave it.
So what you should do is, you see, suppose you are doing research in particular area, and you zero down to some 4, 5, 6 articles, which you want to print. Okay. Then you send a specific request to our library, saying that I want printout of. See, we will not send you a soft copy, but we can download for you. We'll take a printout, and at a cost, we'll give you some nominal cost will be there. We'll send you those articles. So that service is available. That is very, very important. Okay. So
you should not put those things by scanning in Facebook.
You should not scan. Because there are copyright and IPR issues and all. So,
so if you do that, we will be in trouble. More than you will be in trouble. Okay. So but wherever this is irrespective of whether you are a government college or any college, any institutions. Okay. If you need any article and you are not subscribed to that, you just send a request. I think even other IIT libraries are also giving a similar service. See, sometimes some journal is not subscribed here but subscribed in IIT Madras. There will be link on the library page where you can actually submit your request. You pay money, okay, and you get the article. So you get a print.
Most of the information that he gave to you, everything is given on our library website. The best and easy source to get information about our library is go to www.library.iitb.in and you will get everything, even the list of journals that we subscribe to. So you know this there in the IIT Bombay and you can always request. And one thing he mentioned about the deposit account. Even if you are government, you can open an account with us by paying say 5,000 rupees. And gradually you can use that amount for preparing the copies of articles. See, otherwise all it happens, you send a request, we send this much amount is required. Sometimes in a government kind of system, it gets delayed and down. But if the amount is already there, then they will not also not bother. They say the amount is there, so okay, debit from that account and give the photocopy as early as possible. So that is possible, even the government college. Private college, of course, there are quite a few members already.
So there is some small deterrent in the sense that, see, there are some 20, 30, 40, 50 articles. You should read the abstract, okay, and with consultation with your guide, you should zero down which are very important, okay. Then only pay for those and get, in some sense, all of you have access, okay. You just pay for a specific article and get it printed, okay. So
today is your last day, right?
Yeah.
And last day, last afternoon, having been bulldozed with such kind of information, I don't know whether really it made some sense or bored you. But we have tried to tell you as much as we can. Probably he went sometime overboard. I thought maybe this much information is not required, but I think he has done little more work for you. And I only hope that this kind of information is useful to us, and try to use your library resources first, and then, if possible, us, and we'll try to help you as much as we can. Right? So thank you very much. Thank you.
So thanks, Dr. Jotwani and Manju for coming. Yeah.
Very few people ask us for such presentations. So we are happy that you guys at least remembered us. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you all. Sir, thank you, sir.
So good evening, and this is our last technical session. It gives me great pleasure to introduce my colleague, Professor Chandra Venkatraman. Professor Chandra did her BTech in chemical engineering from IIT Delhi, and then her PhD from University of California at Los Angeles. After that, she had a postdoctoral stint at Stanford University, and I think after that you joined IIT Bombay as a faculty. So she has been with us for almost 18 years now. She has a very illustrious career. She has held she has been awarded, her research has been awarded some prestigious award, Vikram Sarabhai Award. Recently she was a Fulbright Fellow, and it's one of the prestigious research awards. She has guided many PhDs, published in many reputed journals. Her research interests are mainly targeted nanoparticle synthesis and climate studies, very, very broadly speaking. Now, since last 2 years, there is a new program which has been initiated in IIT Bombay on climate studies. This is an interdisciplinary program, and this is a center of excellence funded by Department of Science and Technology. And Professor Venkatraman is heading that center. So today she is going to convey her excitement about research in climate studies and tell you about how you as chemical engineers can contribute to this very important and exciting area of research. So over to Chandra.
So thank you, Professor Patwardhan. Good evening to all. As Professor Patwardhan said, I'm going to talk to you about one other new and exciting field of research related to chemical engineering, which is in climate studies. I just want to give broad background about the relevance. So climate change is one of the most important environmental problems which has regional dimension, it has global dimension. How many people have heard of this term global warming? So just about everybody. What are the other types of impacts that we are expecting? So yes, you do have heat waves. You may have changes in monsoon circulations and then in rainfall, and you may have impacts on coastal regions and sea level rise. So you may have various impacts of climate change. So in order to address this, India, and once we have climate changing, why is climate changing? Climate is changing essentially because we have energy consumption, we have power plants, we have traffic transport requirements, we have industry, we have various other societal needs driven by industrial production, and that is leading to emissions that are changing the composition of the atmosphere, after which the radiation balance changes and climate change occurs. So then, how do we understand what are these influencing factors and how to respond to it? So for that, India has initiated an ambitious national action plan on climate change, and part of this is knowledge mission on climate change. So all of this understanding has to be supported by science, and then you can take it to impacts and response. So we have to first understand how to predict some of this climate change well, and as I have written, some research in this area lies between the areas of energy use, emissions, and processes, chemical processes, industrial processes, what sorts of emissions we expect from them, residential fuel use, etc. And then we look at the topics that include prediction of climate extremes, what extremes in temperature can we have, extremes in rainfall can we have, how does the composition of the atmosphere change, and how does this affect various variables, temperature, rainfall, etc. Now, you will ask me, what is the link to chemical engineering? Oh yeah, we have heard about climate change. I have never heard of any chemical engineer before this working in climate change. As Professor Patwardhan said, all my degrees are in chemical engineering. How is my training suitable to working on climate-related topics? So John Prosnitz, who is a very famous chemical engineer who works in thermodynamics, he is an emeritus, he is at University of California, Berkeley. He said, chemical engineering is what chemical engineers do. And chemical engineering is not apart from society. It is, in fact, part of the society that it should seek to serve. What were our societal needs in 1940s, 1950s? It was related to having industry, having large-scale manufacture, etc. What are our societal needs today? Much related to environmental change, much related to climate, and so on. So, if we look at Wikipedia, which all of us go to understand definitions, it says chemical engineering is the application of physical science, life sciences, etc., involving mathematics, and it is applied to large-scale manufacture is the traditional definition of looking at it. But in fact, what you have heard over the last few days is that we have this training and we apply it to understanding natural systems, of which the Earth system is the biggest natural system that we know, biological systems, materials. These are some of the research that you have heard about bioprocesses, about other process systems engineering, about materials, nanomaterials, and so on. And now we will talk about natural systems a little bit. So the Earth system is the biggest natural system. I will try to keep it very simple. What I want to point out over here is which are the processes related to your training. So we have human activity, which is industrial processes. You understand chemical processes. Everybody has had chemical process principles. You could, for example, be working on estimating or doing modeling of combustion, modeling of processes that lead to emissions, and understanding what is the extent of emissions. Okay? Aerosol is a word which I will define. It is related to fine particles that are suspended in the gaseous medium, and so the atmosphere has an atmospheric aerosol. Meteorology aspects come into fluid mechanics, but in fluid mechanics, I think we do boundary layer, we do turbulence, we do some of these things. However, our chemical engineering applications are largely to chemical process industries. So industrial processes and so on. But the same training can be applied to the boundary layer, what is called the planetary boundary layer, what is called the scales, turbulent scales of interaction, which drive particle deposition, which drive the movement of gases, etc. Now, if you talk about clouds, what is essentially a cloud? A cloud is a mass of air. You can think of it as rising adiabatically. All of us know about adiabatic expansion and how temperature changes in an adiabatic parcel, and that leads to a heat and mass transfer problem, which leads to the condensation of liquid water. So we have analysis of cloud formation. So what this is basically saying is there are various interactions. You may be operating at scales as small as combustion or clouds, and then you have to link that to radiation change, link that to activities that happen on larger space scales. So just quickly, my research area is largely related to what is called atmospheric aerosols and climate change. As you can see, particles are neither spherical, nor are they isotropic, and nor do they have a constant shape or a constant density or anything. As you can see, they are highly diverse. And this TEM image is actually taken in my lab of a soot cluster, and you can see that you have nanoparticles of about monomers of a few nanometers that are clustering around to form the soot cluster. So this is just to define what are atmospheric aerosols. Now, why do we want to study this area, and how do we approach it? I am only going to talk about one aspect of it, which is related to understanding the system through modeling. Okay, there are a variety of approaches to understanding the climate system. One of the standard approaches is to understand it through modeling, and I will talk a little bit about it and how we validate models and so on and so forth. So we want to interpret observations, understand atmospheric processes. These could be mechanisms of chemistry, mechanisms of transport, mechanisms of deposition, etc. And we want to tell one of the classical problems in atmosphere is you can measure a pollutant level at a particular place. Then the question is, where did it come from if I want to control it? So you have to do a lot of mathematics to figure out what were the contributing sources. And only after you know that, you can say, how can I control it? So some of it is source and regional origin of pollutants. Then responses to change in emissions. If I change a particular industry in a particular way, I bring in a new technology, how will that change the emissions? And so on. These are some of the questions that we can ask in trying to address climate change. So I'm just going to give you a few examples. Okay, quickly, this framework, which is a chemical transport and climate model, as you can see, a large part of it depends on solving Navier-Stokes momentum equations, etc. Now, a lot of the models are available as codes, so think of it like a CFD software. Some of you may be aware of CFD software. So except that it is like far more complicated than that. And you yourself may work on modifying or improving one or other module of this complicated software. Yet you will run it, you will validate it with a lot of the measurements come from satellite sensors. So you will, because you have to have global coverage of whatever you're measuring in the atmospheric column. So you would do validations, and you would, this calculates the atmospheric concentrations of various pollutants. So you would have emissions which come in as a boundary condition. Within the boundary conditions, you would have emissions coming in as surface fluxes. And then you would have advection, diffusion, deposition, and other things, as well as chemical transformation. So where does chemical kinetics come into it? It comes in photochemistry. It comes in the fact that many of you would have heard of ozone. Is that correct? Now, ozone is a pollutant which is never emitted as such. So it forms in the atmosphere, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So you have chemical kinetics, you have a combination of different kinds of multi-scale processes, and which is where chemical engineering comes in. So here I'm just giving an example. So I want to show you that we can run a model and ask a question like, we are seeing black carbon, which is soot, which has a radiation absorption, and we want to see what is the transport pathway over pristine areas like Tibet. There is a reason to look at that, because the heating above the elevated plateau drives monsoonal rainfall in some way. So, we could do a model simulation like we've done here. And if you look at the animation of April, what you're seeing is at that level, much of the winds are going from south to north. So perhaps carrying the pollution from Indo-Gangetic Plain towards Tibet in that month. If you look at the second animation, which is September, you have what is showing here on the left-hand side is the column content of this black carbon. It goes on changing, and you can see here that the transport is essentially coming in from East Asia, and then it's dipping into the Indo-Gangetic Plain. So, this is an example of how you can use fluid mechanics within a modeling framework to answer some of these questions about origin of pollutants. Okay, we talked about NMVOCs, non-methane volatile organic compounds. This is something that chemical engineers know. We produce them. We use them as feedstocks in petroleum industries and so on. But we have them in the atmosphere, and they drive atmospheric photochemistry. What are some of our biggest sources? They are cooking stoves, vehicles, and agricultural fires. Now, how do we treat them in a model? As you can imagine, if you say NMVOCs, you're talking about thousands of species, correct? Or maybe at least 500. So they are classified into reactivity classes, and those reactivity classes are accounted for. This is just showing that any given source can emit different amounts of different reactive classes, and then you would aggregate them into the reactive classes and then use gas phase photochemistry mechanism so that each class follows one particular mechanism of photochemistry, and then you can predict each class how much of ozone, for example, is formed. So this is, one way that we treat it, and one of our students has recently been working on what is called an emissions inventory, or estimating the emissions of these speciated compounds from activities in India so that we can input it to photochemical modeling. And lastly, if we are Indians, we have to talk about the monsoon, right? And now that you have come to Mumbai and experienced 1 or 2 days of good monsoon, which is very late this year, monsoon is really a very large dynamical system wherein something called a water conveyor belt, which is also called Somali jet, essentially gets driven in from the ocean and then comes in over the continent and gets it is rotated out to the south from it's called an overturning Hadley circulation. So what are the kinds of questions that we can ask? Some of the questions we ask is, how are our today's emissions? How are they affecting the monsoon? So we run what is called a climate model, and here is a particular climate model. We run it with present-day emissions and with pre-industrial emissions. So we say that we have an estimate of how much emissions to put into the model, and then we simulate the rainfall. And if we look at how present-day rainfall is compared, so here it is showing present-day minus pre-industrial, what the model is able to capture is it is able to capture this drying, which is shown in blue, negative change in rainfall in central India over here, including Vidarbha and other things, which other places here, which is also seen in the observations. Then we can say what are the mechanisms by which this is actually, are these aerosols really affecting it? And this is getting a little complicated, so I will just say that aerosols change the property of clouds. You have these particles, they will make the clouds a lot more reflective, which means the cloud does not allow radiation to come to the ground. It cools the ground. If it cools the ground and you have a slightly warmer upper atmosphere, it becomes very stable. So you're suppressing circulation. So if you suppress circulation, you end up suppressing rainfall. So, some of these questions we ask are like this. One can also use different methods. Many of you may be interested in a very mathematical approach, like the approaches that are applied in process systems engineering. These may include optimization types of approaches, factor analytic approaches, and other statistical approaches. We actually have one faculty from process systems engineering who is also participating, and we have an excellent student, and we're looking at some of these path analysis approaches to look at how rainfall is affected. So this is basically what I wanted to give you a flavor of what is happening. As Professor Patwardhan said, we have this Center for Excellence in Climate Studies. It is funded by DST. We started in January 2012 in the first phase for 5 years. And we do have dedicated computing facilities for this IDP. We do have positions for PhD program also within the IDP, so you could enroll either in chemical engineering or in the climate studies IDP, and pursue whatever you may be interested in terms of, this is just giving some idea about who are the faculty participating. They are coming from different engineering departments, civil, chemical, environmental, etc., various departments from IIT, and many of the students are also co-guided by more than one faculty member. So we have almost 24 or so PhD students in the last 2.5 years, and of course we are looking to expand. So that is basically what I had. This placement idea, people will say, if I study climate, where would I go after that? If I study environment, where would I go after that? This comes mostly from my lab group, but I think you have a broad sort of division. Your placements could be in academia, they could be in R&D labs, they could be in national labs, and you can even go to companies that are now looking to offer environmental advisories and climate advisories, as well as to a large number of now, all the states have a state climate action plan, and so there will be a cell with Maharashtra Climate Action Plan. There would be a cell at the state government level also for employment opportunities. So this is what I had, and we'll be happy to take some questions.
I think with this, we come to an end of this 3-day workshop.